Hello friends, I'm Alessandra, and today I'm showing you how I created this magnificent jeweled Christmas tree. We're layering luxurious jewel tone fabrics with oversized gem ornaments and completing the look with layers of vintage jeweled finials and icicles.
Well, are you safe down there? You look safe under the table of piles. So I went ahead and I broke down my florals and flourishes tree for now. It was a good transitional tree, but I wanted to use some of the cool gem ornaments that I picked up this year, and I thought I wanted to play with the backdrop a little bit over here. I still like the burgundy drapes that I got, and of course the cool LED light curtain. But because I know I'm going to be having potentially, I'm hoping, these drapes on my Christmas tree somehow with the brighter red, like the bright red, kind of the emerald, and this like kind of sapphire color, I thought maybe this is a little bit I don't know, heavy, like the darker red is just a lot darker than obviously this red here. And I thought, let's see if we can play with it a little bit and change it up a bit. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I am going to lower everything back down to a height that I can work at. And then we'll go and start tweaking it from there. So this doesn't look like much, but this is I think it was a bed sheet that we picked up at Goodwill that was burgundy, kind of like a fake satin finish. And we cut it in half and we poorly sewed it together to make it essentially a really big runner. You'll see here for the Joy tablescape that I did originally. And I thought, maybe we can do something with that along the top, because what I want to do is I want to use the champagne curtains in this look, because if we're going for Christmas treasures and that kind of look, we need more crystals. Never enough crystals. And given that there's going to be gems in the tree with the gemstone ornaments, more is more, especially with jewels. And so because these have rods on them, we need to make sure that they are being adequately covered, especially along the top, because you can see through it. It's a sheer lining. So we're going to hang these curtains first, and to do that, I'm going to be cinching these panels, the front part of the panels, since if you guys missed the initial episode, I suppose, of putting this together, these are just sheer panels that are draped up and over, and the lights, you can tell I just wrapped around the pole, and that was so we could get more stuff on here easier. And so these panels are literally just up and over, and thankfully they're a great length, and I'm really glad I was at Goodwill that day. So we're gonna put the let's see, I'll show you. We're gonna put the sheer panels, we're gonna separate them a little bit like this, and then we're gonna hang the curtains, the beaded curtains underneath them. I'll show you. Now don't worry, we're not leaving it like this, but now you can see the front part of each of the three panels has been cinched with just a little piece of wire, and I specifically used silver wire so you guys could see it a little bit better. And so now it's easier to get underneath here, but I also know that this panel has a big seam in the middle where I connected the two ends together. So there's going to be a swag centered up here. So I'm hoping that means we can do some draping this way and some draping this way, or maybe even multiples, but we need to make sure we're covering the curtain support rods on here. So that's why these are going up next. So let me get them up. Okay, so already we're looking good. I wanted to show you guys up close what this looks like, but I want to point out two different things. So I stored these two different ways, and as an experiment, I had cinched this panel, so there's two curtain rods here and here of the beads, and so I had made this one in 3 sections. You can see I randomly cinched them and then rolled them. Then this one over here, I just rolled on the rod, which you can see there, and and now I just unrolled it. And both of them came undone very easily. I'll probably just continue rolling them on the rod as opposed to cinching them. I just think this might have been a little easier to undo. Like there's a little bit of tangling at the bottom, but I'm not going to worry about that right now because I need to focus on rearranging the top. And then once the top's done, we'll work our way down. So now that we have our beautiful champagne beaded curtains up, we need to put something up to cover this bar line essentially. There's a small area in the middle where there's no beaded curtain, which is fine because the focus should be the tree anyways, but this will help flank it and frame it really well in the center. Hopefully nobody's looking at it because there's a tree in the way. So we're gonna go ahead and take this piece, this panel, and I'm gonna lightly drape it on here, very lightly. I'll show you guys what that looks like. Okay, so we have very, very loosely pinned with safety pins this panel up, and obviously I need to tighten up this corner, but I wanted to show how this corner I draped it up and over, and I used a safety pin behind it. And so I need to do the same on this side, but I wanted to show you how much nicer this tightness looked here. And then I'm going to go ahead and tighten up this line in general, and we'll make sure the safety pins roll over to the back, but that's going to help give us that nice finished look. Okay, so I tried recording it with, actually doing this, and you're not going to be able to see any of that footage. It is really hard to tell what I did. So I will reenact it for you from a safe distance. So I took my hand and I pretty much just went like this and just created some natural pleating in here. And then those wires that we used for these, about 6-inch wires, I ran one underneath here, and then I had it pop out the other side, and I have them cinched. So we essentially just worked around the organza that's on here, and then we are tightening it in the back. So just kind of like we do with a normal loop, nothing crazy. And then I kind of just took it and made sure it was clustered in the center. So we measured everything. So it should be the same distance from either here to the left and here to the right. But to help keep it kind of up and over, fold it a little bit, because it's very, this is heavier fabric than the sheer that we've been working with. What I did is I took a cluster of my magnets that I use on my Ansley stand, and they're all magnets, but some of them have hooks and some of them are O's. So I took one with a hook, added a few on there, and then I just have it kind of keeping it pulling down on the back because I can't really pin this. I mean, it's sort of pinned to the sheer curtains, but the sheer curtains weigh less than this. So to help it balance out, I added some magnets in the back. I might add some more on there just to help weigh it down a little bit more, but I think it's okay. So just a little piece of wire like this, and then you don't need this many magnets, but this is just what I grabbed quickly. So you can just add a couple of them on in the back, and it'll help keep it weighed down. I'll show you how I plan on doing this swag, but I want to emphasize this is all this fabric is from Goodwill. These were curtains, this was a sheet. So everybody's situation is going to work a little differently. If you have a thick velvet, it's going to drape differently than some of this lighter stuff. This is a little bit more slinkier and slippery. So I just encourage you, you can watch what I'm doing, but it's fabric, right? You can't mess it up. You're not cutting it. So just practice swagging it in different ways and see how you like it. Now for me, we already know that this corner's been pinned in. So what I was doing, going to do a variation of, but this is the same thing that I did in the center here, is I just kind of take my hand and I use my back few fingers just to kind of create some pleats while we try to go straight up. And then we're just gonna do something like this, and then boom, we technically have a swag, and we can fluff it and finesse it if we wanted to. We can do the same type of securing that we did over there. I think that's probably what's best, is we're going to do some wire and loop this around a little bit, but I'm going to finesse this a little bit, clean it up, and then I'll show you what it looks like. Hey y'all. Okay, so we have them draped. Both sides are swagged, not identical but pretty darn close. And I wanted to show you guys what I was focusing on was just making sure the lengths were about the same, as close as possible. And then I wanted to show you what this kind of looks like over here. So you can see how we cinched it. We got the wire sandwiched, so we have part of it coming over the top, and then it comes out the other side underneath here, and then we can just twist it, which you can't really tell. Twisting it with the wire, and then again securing it with a safety pin, and that's what's keeping this beauty up. And so it also affords us the nice kind of like draped corner that we have here, so you could leave it as is. It's a little more full and bulky, but I obviously didn't finish these ends like this. Like I said, this was a sheet or something, so I am going to just take a step back and kind of think about what we want to do, but I do have a tutorial in mind. So I went ahead and finished the draping of the edges, and essentially I'll link the tutorial that I found online, but essentially you take the furthest corner in, pull it all the way up to the top, and then pin it up here like underneath, and then you're essentially kind of folding it, and it's kind of creating this nice self-lined edging. And then we just take the inner corners here and we tuck them in, and then I've got them pinned back here, and then it's self-lined. It has a nice finish on the corners, and here we are. And I did the same on the other side, and we'll refluff it and drape it, but we just want to make sure it's about the same size, but it kind of helps finish this look. So I'm looking at this, and I still have this side cinched, and I haven't undone it, but this side that's open, the beaded garland that's opened, it's next to the lights, and it looks nice, and obviously I haven't fluffed and finessed it, but I feel like I'm losing a little bit of the garland. So what I was thinking of is I'll do a test, but we're gonna leave one side like that, and then I'll take maybe this side and I'll just put the curtain rod on top of the sheer curtain, because they're just on these hooks, you know, and then we'll let the curtain out, and then we'll see if we can see the champagne beads more, because I really want the highlight. Like, the lights are creating the ambiance, but it's the gold, the champagne beaded curtains that are really bringing that luxe feeling in. So I want to do that first and see how it looks. Wow, 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 that makes such a difference already. So this is the side that I moved the beaded curtain to the front part of the top sheer panel, and I think you could agree with me here. The diffusement of the LED light curtain, as gorgeous as it is, I think you kind of lose the beads in the lights a little bit, but because the light is diffused and then now illuminate it softly from behind, you can see these curtains so much more beautifully. So I'm going to go ahead and make the call now, and we're just going to do this all the way from one end to the other. We'll make sure we refluff the edges so that the pole is covered on there. Okay, so now our crystals are shining way nicer. It's way easier to see them, and our pole edges are covered. The poles are covered, and so I'm gonna go ahead and put this baby back up to, I think it was around 9-ish feet before. So we'll go all the way up, and then I'll show you what that looks like. Well, it is up. It looks amazing. I love the draping. I love that the beads are hanging more forward facing. So you can see there's just a little gap in the middle between the two curtains, but that's obviously where the bulk of the tree is going to be, and then our tree topper. So here's hoping I put this up high enough. So this is gonna look really cool once we get the tree up, and I guess I need to figure out the tree topper now. I think I know what I'm doing, but let me go pull some options. So before the tree goes back into its spot, not that it really matters, but I know I have this trio of emerald, kind of ruby, and a nice sapphire blue organza paneling that I picked up at a local estate sale. So much of this is from estate sales, and this is my sketchbook. This is what I was drawing out originally, so we kind of modified this. We're not having any of the main curtains cinched, so that's fine. We'll deal with that later. And so this is the tree, and I really wanted like this crazy draping look. So it's gonna be like cascading from behind, come around the front, and then I was thinking like maybe we can gather it here, and then I wanted like a layered draping down, and so it's not necessarily like the symmetrical thing of like the same on each side, but I think this could be really fun. I just want to play with, you know, how thick this is gonna drape on here, but I was trying to decide, okay, what colors, what order of these are we gonna do, because you know, it's jewel tones, so you can't go wrong. But then I was like, you know what, I didn't buy this fabric, so I'm gonna lay it out on this table here, and then we're gonna see which one's the longest to the shortest, and then we'll just make sure whatever, once the shortest one goes on top and then the longest goes on the bottom. And I'm curious. All right, so I started draping them on the table, and I'll show you how far they go. But the bottom one, the shortest one, is actually the blue, and this is the one that was definitely some sort of panel at some point. It has a pocket in it, so that makes sense. And then the green, and then it's about the same width, a little, you know, they're about the same. And then there's a red one. I'm thinking she must have bought it as fabric or something, because the width of it is way different. But look how long it is. I'll show you. I just kind of haphazardly threw it. So the green goes all the way to there, and the blue, you can tell, kind of just makes it to the floor. So I'm gonna do red, green, or bottom is red, middle is green, top is blue. I think that'll be nice, especially because the red on the bottom is going to be the bottom kind of on here too. So not that it'll be really close to each other, but I was a little worried if like we're gonna have a lot of red here next to that red and they weren't the same, but I think it's gonna be okay. So I'm gonna do some test draping, move the tree into place, and we'll do some test draping and see how we want to do this. So before I even start draping, this is how great the tree looks. The current setting that I have it on is red, white, and green, because I thought that's pretty appropriate for what we're doing. And I think it looks pretty good. So you can kind of tell, sun's setting a little bit. I did just a light drape. I gathered on one side, put it in, and then just kind of draped it. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I know what we need to do. So originally this was gonna be like a Christmas jewels, Christmas treasure. I think Christmas treasure was what I was calling this in my head. And then I'm looking at it and I'm like, I really like this angle, and we're gonna have, you know, the two other colors underneath it. I'm looking at it and I'm like, you know, that kind of looks like a sash, right? Like it looks like a sash that the royals wear, and when they're, I don't know, formal or what, I don't know what when the situations are, but formal, maybe more military, whatever, they have the sashes. And I think that's kind of true for like, even if you go back to like high school, there's sashes, brides wear sashes when they go out for their parties or whatever. So I was like, sash is a pretty formal thing most of the time. So I was like, ooh, are we doing a royal jewels Christmas tree? I think we might be. So we're gonna make this fancy. We're making this a royal themed Christmas tree. And I was going through my mess room, and I remembered I had this that I picked up earlier this year. I bought this from Shop Wild Things, and I was gonna do a different Bridgerton centerpiece with it, but I ended up not utilizing this piece, but I have it. So I was like, oh my God, can we do a crown tree topper? And then this is like, the Christmas tree is our royal, and then the tree topper is their crown, and they got their fancy sash, and they're gonna have all their jewels, and oh my God, it's gonna be so great. So I think that's what we're doing now. So I'm getting ready to cinch this up and put the top of this on the tree, but I just wanted to show you guys, I went along the edge where there's already an existing seam, and I didn't do anything fancy. I just kind of bunched up. The only thing I did, because the seams on the edge are raw, you can see right here, the end, both ends, I just folded in and then folded over again, just so we have a better chance at concealing those raw edges. And we'll make sure as we create the folds, essentially the gatherings, we'll just make sure that the ends, you know, we don't want them exposed, so we'll make sure we're tucking them in. And I'm just going ahead here and just taking the ribbon, trying really hard not to snag it on anything, and I'm just creating kind of like what we would like if we were fastening on something else on the tree. We're leaving a little bit of extra dangle so we can wire it in if we need to, but we've already got the start of a really nice kind of folded drape to match our drapes behind the tree. So I'm going to go ahead and put this up on the top part of the tree, and since we know this is going to be the topmost layer slash fabric sash, I'll put it up as high as I can. So the green has been pressed and wired, cinched, and it's about to go up on the tree. And I just thought, while there's some nice sun out for this moment, I just thought I'd put the emerald next to the tree. And I'm a little worried about it blending in, but because the green's going to be sandwiched between the blue and the red, I think it's actually going to work out in our favor, and it'll make a pop. Plus it's a nice emerald, and I think it has a nice sheen to it. So let me get it up and show you guys how it looks. Well, okay then. We've got the green up and draped, and I'd like to point out that there's a fabulous amount of overage there that's pooling that we'll have fun with. And so we're gonna fluff them all when all three layers are installed, but I wanted to show like the blue had kind of been billowing out, but because I use the same longer branches, like you can see how my tree has some poking out, I'm using those same branches to kind of stack them on top of each other. That's really helping. And if your tree doesn't have some of these extra pokey branches, you could get a really hardy big spray or pick that they make that are evergreen varieties, pine varieties, and you know they're probably 18-20 inches, and they're probably $7 to $15, maybe $20 depending on where you get it, but they're meant to help fill in the trees. And so if you needed extra long branches that you could kind of use as support, that might be a good option if your tree doesn't have some of those already built in. Okay, so we got all the drape in. I wired our little gathering there, and I did like a mock draping of like, kind of wanted to look like a lady's train, like a ball gown train. And we have obviously a lot of red, we have a lot of green, and the blue just kind of stops a little short. Then I remembered I have this little piece, like, gosh, what is this? Couple feet of like random scrappage that was in the pile. So I'm thinking I'm gonna go ahead and give this a quick press, and then I'm gonna fold it in to the gathering over here. Like I'll hide it in there, and that'll help give us a little extra length and volume on the blue so it doesn't get lost. Before I add the additional blue piece, I thought I'd show you guys the swag length. So there's quite a bit of gap in between the blue, which is the top, the green, which is the middle, and the red, which is the bottom. But I have this extra piece of fabric right here that was part of my collection that I got. So I thought, okay, here, I'll just show you guys where I got the, let's say this is how much we group it. So when I put it in here, it's gonna lay really nicely with the green. And the green is actually, here, I'll show you. It's actually longer than it looks. There you go. So then we'll just take this part. So we can really put the full length of the blue in here, and it'll still drape nicely. So I think we're gonna have a really cool gathering over here. I think it's gonna look really pretty. I'm excited. So let me add this cluster in here. Sneaky. Okay, fold it in, hidden. You can't even tell it's in there. It's like extensions. If you do them right, you can't tell. And so right now we're just gonna let this kind of drape in a little bit. I'll probably have it going closer back towards the base of the pipe set, but obviously we need to decorate the tree. Well, I love it. This looks so great. Now I want to I'm not sure if I want to pull it up a little bit higher and have it be like more of like a curved swag at the end. Because I was looking at pictures of royals, and it doesn't really swag up that much. It just kind of gathers, and then there's like little tassels or whatever. But I was thinking maybe we'll put like a cool, pretty bow here. I'm not sure. I might fuss with it a little bit, but I like where this is going for sure. What a difference moving one branch cluster up goes. So this branch right here that you see sticking out, that's what they were kind of wrapped around before. And there's a smaller tiny branch, which you can pretty much see right there. I just took the wire, moved it up a little bit, and it makes it look so much nicer. It kind of brightens it up a little bit with that kind of curve. And I took the fabric that's going to be part of our draping train and just did like a little tuck in, and so now it cascades even nicer, I think. Let me get in there closer. Yep, so it's just a few inches up higher and in. So this is the one it was on before, and now it's on the branch in here, and it just changed it completely. Not completely, but it just made such a big impact, and I think that's perfect. I'm so glad we did that. So that's great. So now we have a nice cascade here, and I love it. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this puppy and this board puppy, and we're gonna go for some kind of walk or something. Wally, you wanna go for a walk? You will go do the walks? Yeah, we gotta go get a walk. Okay, walk break coming soon. Thanks for helping, Wally. You good boy. So while Moose is serenading us, I just wanted to show you guys, I got the bow on, and it looks beautiful. It helps pull all the colors together. Oh, Moose is singing to us. Hold on. Come here, Moose. Yeah, you singing to all my piles of Christmas stuff? Thank you. You getting the Christmas spirit? Yeah. Thank you. He's so excited. We're decorating, Wally. This is Moose being the optimal little brother, annoying his big brother while he's resting. I know. Okay, we're gonna go do a puppy break because Moose has got so much energy. Look at that boy. Wally. Okay, so it's damn near midnight on my end, and I swear I do some of my best work at obnoxious hours of the night. But I was looking at it, and I liked this drape because in my mind it looks like the same kind of angles and shapes that you see some of the royals wearing, and I'm like, okay, there's an imaginary crown, they have their sashes. But when I step to this side, let me show you, it's kind of underwhelming, and it I don't know, it like I put some of the ornaments on, the large gem ornaments, and I just put some like random, like I think I put 3 random picks in there just to see how they looked. And I mean, not that I'm primarily looking at the tree from this side, but I don't know, it needs to be fluffed. And by fluffed, I mean like maybe I think I'm going to redo it. I'm going to take the ornaments off, and I'm thinking I might do more of like a dramatic kind of almost U shape and see how that looks. Something a little bit more cascading down, and then we can create more of that drape, kind of like what we have up here, so it's a little bit more unified. So there's nothing wrong with this. It's just, I don't know, it's not calling 100% done. So I'm going to play with this, and I'll show you what it looks like. So just doing some initial playing, I dropped the swoop down quite a bit, and obviously I had to take the extension piece of blue out, but we can add that in once it's in its spot. But I kind of like how we have the blue on the top, and then obviously this isn't the final drape, but I like bringing that red kind of around to kind of like balance it back up and almost twist. I'm kind of into that feeling right now, so I'm gonna let this sit for a little bit, go to bed because it is very late on my end, and then I'm gonna come back in the morning and we'll keep playing, see how we do. But I like the more dramatic look of this. It's a little bit more opulent, I think, and you can see the draping a little bit more. And let me show you what it looks like from the side over my piles of stuff decor. So obviously it's not a finesse thing, but you know, it's a little bit more draped in that sense. I could bring it more straight down and then do like a more curved loop. So that was going to be the next thing that I try, where it's more like it goes down, and then as it's curving, that's when it starts going up the other side. It's just kind of tricky because where the blue ends, it's kind of in an awkward spot. And even if I add the extra extension in, there's going to be some weird bunching and extra bulk there where it overlaps. So I just need to be mindful of that. But I think we're definitely moving closer to the right direction. We'll see. I lied. I thought I was going to bed, but I didn't. And I am really glad I did, because my husband was like, "What are you doing?" And I was telling him my struggles, and he was kind enough to point out something. He made a good point that if I wanted my original vision, we really weren't getting the same effect, and I agree with him. And so I was like, you know what, you're right. So we went back and I started again. So now we have a much more dramatic swoop, and while the coverage is a little bit different and I think the angle of the sketch is a little bit different, I think the impact is still great. And so we'll see if I like this in the morning, but because the red is the longest, what I did was I did each color individually. So I did the blue, the green, and the red, and the blue and the green both got tied individually with just some wire. And I attached the blue onto this branch here, and then there's another branch back there that I twisted the green one onto. And since those were both individually secured, I then took the red from the bottom, went up and over, back behind the branches, and pulled it out the front. So now we have this nice cascading effect. And then to hide the blue extension in, I just tucked it in. I gathered it and wired it, like we were before, and then I just tucked it in back there. Boom. Here we are. Now, the problem lies if I wake up tomorrow morning, I look at this, I'm like, yep, this is still a good idea. I take the crown down just because it was moving around while I was pushing all the fabric in. I think the crown is going to look a little too underwhelming, and I think we might have to have a more extravagant tree topper. So thankfully I have a bunch of picks to play with to make it go crazy looking up there, like a crazy over the top crown. And we might still leave our crown up there, but I think we're going to need to expand a little bit, because I think that little crown on the top of this volume is just going to look a little silly. So we're going to work on this. Maybe the hydrangea stay, maybe they don't. I don't know. I'll know in the morning, and so will you. Good morning. We're back. And I did make some very minor modifications. I just brought everything up just a smidge, and I need to finesse this area just a little bit, just ever so slightly, just to kind of create that nice cascading look. But we're pretty much there. But I like that it swoops and curls up a little bit, and then having this red draped up and over, I think makes it look so much more fancy. And then having all this kind of trio of fabrics cascading down with our little extension blue over there looks really great. And once we fluff it out and get it done, it's going to look marvelous. But I'm going to do a little touching up. But then I think we need to take this off. I love the idea of the crown up there, but I think with the volume of this, it's not going to look great. So we're going to figure out how to turn all this, or some of this, into a crazy pretty tree topper. So I got a little carried away making my tree topper and playing with the drape, and I really like how the drape is, especially with the bow on top. So it has this nice swag. And then once I'm done going up and down my ladder, I keep, like right here, I keep kind of brushing against it, but we will fluff it. But it's pretty darn close at this point. But I like the direction that we're going with the tree topper. I went ahead, and it's a little hard because there's the burgundy drapes, so the red picks don't stand out as much, but I like having the platinum picks at the top, because then that puts a nice crown of sorts on there. And I did put some of the green picks in, which definitely helped brighten things up a little bit. But I was looking at it and I was like, the champagne, I tried these and they don't really look right. They're just a little too whimsy, if that makes sense, for this look. So I'm not sure if I'm even going to use them. But I mostly have red picks, and the green, like you can see some of the green leaves over there, and they kind of have some contrast. But I was like, this is not one of those trees that the topper is the statement. Like, the statement is the draping here. So that's what I'm going to focus on. And so I ran just a little bit of, since I had the bow here, I made like a one loop, kind of like, I don't know what we call that, like 2 runs. And then I have it just kind of draping down over there. And I just doubled up on the champagne glitter ribbon that I had. And then I ended up just using the rest of the roll of this new plaid ribbon that I got and then just kind of working on the side a little bit, I put the extra hydrangea that I had back here and then one of the platinum stems, and then I just made another loop just to kind of tuck underneath it because it's kind of airy with the draping, and then just to kind of keep that pattern and just a little bit extra flow because we go from so much draping to we're gonna have a little bit. So we just did 1-2 runs and then I just let it finish out, and I might put some more on the bottom, but the next thing I really want to focus on are the large gemstone ornaments because I don't want to put too much ribbon on where I don't have room for the gemstone ornaments. So I put one up there. I'm gonna keep putting, I have 2 more large green ones and then the 3 red ones, so I'm gonna put them on next. Hey Wally. So the large ornaments are on, or the large gem ornaments are on. So we have 3 green, 1, 2, 3, and they're on the front. And then we have the red garnets. We have 1 here, 1 here, and then I put 1 over here off to the side. And this one I'm a little torn about, but I think I like it kind of hidden in here because I don't see, I'm using on my tree, I have these extra kind of long branches, and I don't, the next one that I have that's pointing out is here, but it's so close to that one. So I thought, okay, I'll leave this here because I know I have smaller ones as well that I can work in. But I think for now, this is kind of a nice spot, and I like that it's just kind of like hidden coming through. So we'll use some of the smaller gems in red here, and then here, and then we'll mix some of the green ones in. But before I move on to more gems, I have a handful of these like assorted shatterproof larger ornaments that I want to use, and some of them kind of have that plaid look. So I'm going to use that to fill in some of the spots, at least the deeper spots. You can tell, you know, there's some spots that even though you fluff the tree, you know, there's still spots. So we're gonna use that for filler. I have so many ornaments over here, like the gem ones. Like I have all of these that are smaller, so I want to make sure we have plenty of room for all of these guys. But I also have a lot of picks that I want to use. Decisions. But first, we'll get these in as filler spots first. So the important picks that I really, really wanted to make sure got on are on, and that is the red kind of curly, I guess, picks, and then the platinum and champagne picks that are like the olive leaves, I guess. But these were perfect, and I bought them specifically for this tree theme. I hope it comes through how beautiful this is coming together. We've got some picks in place. We've got the giant ornaments in there. We have silver, or well, platinum. We have champagne. We have bright red. We have beautiful like apple greens in here. I really want to put all the jewels on the tree. Okay, this is awesome. All of the official gem jewel ornaments are on the tree and they look amazing. So I started taking my vintage, super vintage diamonds out, and then I have these that are going to go on next, and then we'll do some of the draping. But I'm going to take a few minutes and take all of these, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and string on some small loops so I can spin the ornaments around. And I don't know if you can tell here, but wrapping the ornaments, especially important with these bigger, bulkier ornaments, just taking them and just wrapping them around the stem is what's keeping them in place super secure. Take a look at how insanely gorgeous these vintage finials, icicle ornaments, I mean, a little bit of everything. They look stunning, layered in with some of the newer ornaments like these beaded amber stone ones you can see, the giant gem emeralds, garnets. I mean, it looks beautiful. You would never guess so much of this tree, especially ornament wise, is vintage. Pretty much everything on this tree actually is, at least ornament wise, is vintage. Would you believe that? I hope you do, because if not, you're gonna have to go check my hauls video with all of these incredible ornaments accounted for, except for these giant ones. Those are obviously new, and some of the larger ones that we use for filler. But yeah, all of these cool jewel icicles, I mean, those are vintage. I mean, so much of this, I love it. It looks great.
from so many different angles, playing with the colors of the lights of the tree just to make it look so much cooler. I love it. Even from the side view, the draping looks crazy beautiful. All of the dropped icicle finial ornaments look beautiful. The daylight, it looks incredible. The nighttime, I love how it looks, but I styled it with the same green chairs from earlier, and I like it. Well, friends, I think you've heard me talk enough. I'll let you enjoy this beautiful jeweled Christmas tree in all of its sparkly glory. And if you enjoy Christmas, check out my Christmas playlist for tons more videos of just all sorts of fantastic Christmas DIYs. And if you enjoy holiday seasonal content, you're gonna like my channel. I put a lot of content up, just seasonal inspired, whatever tickles my fancy. So make sure to subscribe so you get all sorts of great ideas throughout the year. Happy holidays!